So today I'm going to try to move a project or change a project that I found from that implements Barnsat to start from scratch. I was trying to compile the project and I was getting some errors because of the way that he did things, I think. And yeah, I'm gonna study the project first and then try to move to start everything from the beginning. So he uses a couple of external libraries and two libraries that he created. And I was trying to use Conan, which is a package manager in C++ or C++ and C. And I got it, I think I got it right in the beginning, but then in some of C's projects, there was a couple of errors, I think. So what I'm gonna try to do is just start from scratch and understand what he did. And I think that's probably better to learn as well. So instead of just trying to go from his project and then trying to change his project to make the stuff that I'm trying to make. But before I do that, I'm gonna talk about the books that I read. It was an overkill. I read a lot of books. And also, I want to recommend Speechify, which is just this. I found as a Chrome extension, but it's extremely good to read books with this. It allows me to go a lot faster. I believe, like there's a couple of books here that's I don't have the complete version because I found them online. So I didn't read because a couple of them only have a couple of chapters, but like it still is like probably around 17 books, so it's a lot of books. And it was definitely an overkill because I'm only gonna learn implementing this stuff. So I think for most people, the reason why why I want to say this is because for most people, it's not gonna be worth it to read all these books. And the only like the biggest reason why I read all of them is because I wanted to see. I didn't know which ones would be the best. So the best ones that I found so far personally, because the way that I think about books is that you should only read books for stuff that you're trying to go more in depth, because reading the book is going to help you memorize and it's going to help with spaced repetition because you have to read in several different days. So okay, looks like we're connected. So because of that, I think that the best books are definitely this one for pointers, and I'm gonna reread them. I still have three different books that I have to read. These three here, so it's gonna take me some time to read them, probably around 20 hours still. And then these ones, I'm debating whether or not I should go back and read them, but I think that they're probably good because they are the only books that I remember that talk about how to create a GUI, a user interface, which libraries that help you do that, and other stuff. But all of them in general are very good, but it's a lot more effective to learn from YouTube videos, in my opinion. So, yeah. So out of all of these ones, the only ones that this one, the good thing about this one is that it's like 15 minutes if you read at 3x speed, and he has a bunch of recommendations of channels and resources and videos, so it's very straight to the point. So that's what I really liked about this one. And in the video he recommends these channels here that are very good. So far I've been liking them. This is the author of the book, so I really recommend his videos. They are very good, and this other channel as well. This channel, there's a very good playlist about from this guy as well. So let me start the other stuff, the projects. So I'm gonna follow the same. I was thinking about starting from the other project that I had. You know, I watched a tutorial that helps you set up everything with CMake in the beginning. But then I decided to change the name of that project to, I believe I've used this one. But this folder structure here is kind of weird for the thing that I'm trying to do, so I'm going to follow the folder structure from the project itself. It looks like he has the source, shaders, and then I added this one. So these are the two libraries that he made. And then he uses I think another 4 or 5 external libraries. And then I spent a bunch of time. I'm gonna have to spend a bunch of time as well reading Conan or Conan again. So you can either create a text file or a Python file to set up Conan, and then you have to. The documentation seems very nice, and I have been going back and forth between being like really frustrated because it's so hard to build the project, but at the same time, like then I remind myself that people spend a bunch of time creating these things in the first place, and you have access to all of them. So you go back and forth between the two. Sometimes I'm just very frustrated, but then other times I remember like, oh yeah, like I wouldn't be able to do any of this if the people haven't built the thing in the first place. So the Python file seems that it allows you to specify more things, I think. And the text file is more simple, but I was using the text file for this one. So I specified which external libraries you want to use. And then here at some point they share a link that you can see. It's kind of like Cargo in Rust, where you have the website and it's like a server that probably has all the libraries on the database. And then you can search on that site, and it's probably the Conan site, Conan.io. And then based on that, you find the names of the libraries, and then you put the name there with the you need to put the version. And then you run the command and installs everything for you. Then you have to install this stuff, and then you have to put the I'm not sure if it was Conan or VC package, but you have to put something on the path. And then you have to create a profile, and the profile is a folder that's going to be created once you run a command there that they also tell you to do. And you have to specify on the profile, which is going to be a text file that has like key value pairs for the specification of the compilation you want to do. So you run the command and installs all the libraries for you, but the problem that I was having here is that it doesn't install. I believe, I'm not 100% sure about this, but it seems that one of these projects says, the first error that I got was a message on the CMake file, because it didn't have a environment variable that it was trying to use. And I'm not really sure if that was a mistake from the person that created this. So, but then I removed, and then I got another error that it doesn't have another variable. So in one of these projects, I think it's the OpenGL one. So this one was giving an error about the CMake file, and the OpenGL one was giving an error because of some of these files here. Maybe it's this one. Yeah, it requires this image here, but the image doesn't exist on the project. So I'm not really sure, because the thing is that the way that he recommends you to do it from the GitHub repo is by using VC package and not Conan. And I was trying to make it work with Conan. So it might be because of that it isn't working. But I'm gonna copy the folder structure from this project and try to use this one. And then I'm going to study these files here and then try to copy. I want to try to understand first if I see, because I also want to remove anything that is not, it doesn't matter for what I'm trying to do. So from a comment, I think on the README here, he says that the library that has all the calculations for the Barnstud is this n-body executor. And this one is more like a wrapper that puts together this part with the OpenGL and then allows you to do the visualizations. So OpenGL is the same framework that WebGL uses. It's just an interface for communicating with the GPU. So it's like an API, and yeah, it allows you to create 3D visualizations. So I'm gonna copy the folder structure, then I'm gonna look at the file structure, understand this one, and then try to recreate everything from the beginning there on the other one. The most annoying part so far is the setup. To build everything is kind of annoying, because there isn't any standard and there's so many ways to do it. I'm gonna try to do it with the Python file on this one. But I'm gonna do it. Yeah, maybe I should do it with the. I think the easiest way to do it is just with the external libraries, and then I just copy the code from. But maybe I'm gonna spend more time. I'm gonna spend a lot more time trying to study to see if I can just get as much code as possible without using the libraries. Maybe get the source code from the libraries directly with which I already download them. Because obviously I don't wanna reduce the amount of dependencies as much as possible. So yeah, I'm gonna try to do that. And then it's also, but I will have probably to add external files, so I'm gonna have to use Conan anyway. So I'm gonna have to read the documentation there again. So there's an include, I think, as well. Maybe I get rid of this stuff. The problem is gonna be if everything is very coupled, because then I have to. It's gonna be very difficult to just do. Ideally, I'm able to just do incrementally add code and then see if I really need the library or if I can go the source code on the source code of the library. I'm definitely gonna lead the OpenGL libraries. There's a couple of libraries that are for math as well. And this is another thing that I was remembering that's gonna be a lot of work because I already did all the stuff on the front end, but on the front end I'm using 3GS, so I didn't have to do the shaders manually and also the calculations. So I understand the concept level of the calculations, but they are very annoying. If I have to think about the nuances, then it becomes very annoying. But it's pretty much just matrix multiplication. So have the model of each object on the thing, then you have the model of the whole scene, and each one is going to be a matrix, and then you have the view and projection as well, which creates like a, don't know how to say the name of that shape in English, but it's the thing that gives the illusion of the 3D, which is the field of view, and you have the two things squares that make up that kind of funnel. And then the way that you calculate how everything is going to change and how it's going to work is by doing matrix multiplication on these different matrices to calculate everything. So depending on which way you put the values on the matrix is going to be one kind of movement that you create. You have translation, rotation, and I think that's it. Scaling. So scaling is when you change the numbers on the diagonal. Translation is when you have, I don't remember exactly, but rotation is with sine and cosine. And then obviously the values are going to depend because it's just linear equations. It's the same as matrix multiplication, so. I probably should disclose all this stuff here.
Isolation is the gift. All the others are a test of your endurance, of how much you really
I'm gonna study the thing. I'm gonna put one file at a time.
despite rejection and the worst odds.
I'm just gonna copy this one. I'm not gonna do the fetch content. This is to download the content from GitHub. Those are the two libraries that are his libraries. And then these other ones are the ones that are external and required by the project. So once you run the command with Conan, then it installs everything for you, and then you can run cmake with a flag variable, and then you specify the path of the the Conan toolchain. I believe I'm not really sure about this, but the hardest part, like it's easy to read the documentation and run, like do the code, but the hardest part is understanding the fundamental principles that are under the hood and the way that the thing works itself. So that's what I'm struggling now. Because then obviously when you have a problem, you have to understand what's going on. So and the shaders I don't know very well as well how it works. I haven't seen them. But obviously there's two different types of shaders. One is a fragment shader, which is responsible for the color. The other is the vertex. Vertex creates triangles, and the fragment allows you to paint the triangle pretty much. So everything is a triangle in the GPU, and the more complex things you just put a bunch of triangles together. And I believe you put the information on the shader itself of the matrix of the positions, and then you pass the data to the shader, and then it creates the visualization based on the data. But I remember it was very annoying if you have to do it manually. It's very annoying to create the data. There's a bunch of tutorials that maybe should try to find them here for WebGL that they explain very well how it works. So obviously that's the point of OpenGL, where they probably have functions that already have the data structure for shapes. Don't remember if I saved on the bookmarks the website. It should be easy to find. Yeah, it's already. So this website here, maybe I'll read them, all these things again. They explain very well. But obviously this is for WebGL. But there's only a slight difference between WebGL and OpenGL, which I don't remember really well what it is, but I know that it is on the specification of one of the numbers, but I don't remember exactly what's the difference. So let me see. Let me just put. So the main CPP, he just calls the app. I don't understand very well why I do it like this though. He's just calling the app here, run. So I'm gonna leave without this main CPP for now. Maybe I'll change later. Because I don't see the point of... Maybe just because it is... Yeah, I should probably leave this. Because probably you are required to create the main function. It's probably just to separate the main function from everything else. So now I'm gonna spend more time. I'm gonna leave it like this and then just spend a bunch of time studying the files. See if I can understand the project. I'll do the Conan file, Conan file upstream. So inherits from OpenGL window. Yeah, one of the main things that I'm interested on, which is probably going to be an external library that does it, is how they create the GUI. But it's probably better to start from scratch and then just try to do it incrementally for each thing. Maybe what I should do is copy the external libraries though. Because that way it's gonna become... but I have to see which ones I actually need. This there's the I'm gonna close this CMake files for now. But the idea is probably to get all the external libraries and then instead of im- importing or including the libraries that he created, I'm gonna integrate them on the project itself. But I'm probably not gonna do, because I don't want to do exactly what he did. Obviously, I have my own thing, so there's probably a bunch of things that I can remove from this one. So I have to see. Is this was the variable that was giving an error? I removed this one, probably on the other project. Yeah, this because this one is from the one that I manually put here. Like, this project didn't have these libraries here folder, so I manually download the files from GitHub, which he explains here. I forked this from this guy, and then he has the links for the other libraries, so I download them from here. This is just a podcast that I was watching that I thought was very good as well. The guy seems to be very smart, so I don't know why I opened here though. So yeah, but I removed on the other one. So when you build everything with Conan, you don't need the projects here because the Conan is gonna get them from GitHub by doing the fetch declared stuff on CMake. So it puts everything on the build folder, and then on one of the CMake files here that I assume it builds automatically based on the main CMake, it also it builds this file here pretty much. So I deleted this line here and this one. But then the question is that I'm not 100% sure what this command. Obviously, based on the name, you can imagine that what it's gonna try to do is based on this variable find this file here. But then I assume that you should declare or should set this variable here in the beginning. So I don't understand very well why he didn't do that, because that would make more sense. And the challenge here is that how do you, because this library is gonna be built by CMake, by Conan. So that's probably the error that I was having there, is because he recommends using VC package. So maybe when you use VC package to build, it's gonna find this environment variable here automatically, so you don't have to set. And because I was using Conan, it didn't find the variable, so could be the problem. Yeah, but it's better to just do everything from scratch anyway. I probably could figure out if I spend more time, but it's not worth it, I think. Maybe should remove this. It doesn't matter that much. What else? The other downside of the other project is that I on the tutorial he does everything with the GUI, and I don't like that very much because it makes you dependent on the tool. So I prefer to do it with the command line stuff and like arguments. So as this project here, I'm not gonna do. I'm gonna open the other one on this thing here, so it's easier to go back and forth between them. Cause I don't think I'm gonna use this one. I was thinking that I was probably gonna copy the CMake files from this project to the other one. But I guess I'll figure out as I go. So I'm gonna close this one from here. And these are the libraries that uses. lines here. So let me just go file by file and see if I'm assuming that probably it would make the most sense for this IM or yeah, IM GUI, EM GUI, whatever, however we say this, should be responsible for creating the user interface, obviously, because of the name. And then probably OpenGL just creates the engine that is gonna render everything. So the API from to the GPUs. So the main thing that I want to do is just use create something that creates a GUI. That's the thing that I'm most curious about now. So probably I should figure out maybe I spend some time reading the code, then I figure out or just do this one here now and follow the tutorial there instead of doing the Python file. And the thing is, I'm gonna have to read this anyway, so. Maybe I'll put one. So I'm gonna translate this to the Python version, and then I'm just gonna put one of the libraries, the one that I think that is used to. Maybe the other one is used. No, the other ones are probably math files. There's a lot of matrix calculations to change everything. So the first thing that I want to accomplish is to create a GUI. Then after that, create a simple visualization with OpenGL, and then go from there. So I'm gonna have to put shaders here as well. But it's gonna be a lot of work. I was thinking about it because the other thing that is a lot easier on the front end is that I was using a library to control the camera. So that's another thing that is gonna be very annoying. It's not that like the math is not hard to understand, but to think about the nuances of how to actually do the math on each case, it's not hard, but it's very annoying to do it. So yeah, I want to see if I can avoid that at all costs. So I can just find a library just does everything for me, so I don't have to waste energy on that. So I'm gonna remove all this other stuff as well, so I can run with only this. Okay, good. This is another thing that I have to figure out is that I close the file, but so the way that the VS Code knows where the header files are is based on an extension that you download, and then the extension figures out the path, and you could change which paths the extension is going to search for on some settings somewhere. But I close that. Maybe if I yeah, this one. So this is the path. Yeah, this is the extension, and then the path is this one. So it looks currently is looking for VC package roots, and then the workspace folder, and then I have to add Conan here, but I'm not really sure how to do this. This is the stuff that I mean that is kind of annoying because, for example, this flag variable, I'm sure they have on the documentation, but it's just kind of like it takes a lot of time to parse everything to find the information. So it's kind of kind of annoying to do it. I cannot find the thing. This is one of the problems. But I believe it's somewhere here. The Conan file is on the users. Conan. Yeah, so I don't know very well. So this is the profile that you create. You go on this. So it's gonna depend on the obviously the path you have on your computer. But there is a command there that they talk about on the documentation, and then you run the command, and it's gonna automatically create, and then you can, yeah, you can just run this command as well here. So once you install Conan once you install, you can. I don't remember how I did this very exactly, but you can just put, yeah, I don't remember. But you just run this command, and then you're gonna show. It's gonna show where the executable is, and then you find the path. You just go there. But I don't. Maybe they talk about it in the documentation. I don't remember where. How did I find this file here? But this is gonna be the profile. The default one you create, and I think you can create several different ones, and then you specify how you want the thing to be built. So what kind of compiler you're gonna use, the build type, the architecture of the computer. So if you're using Windows, it's probably gonna be this one, x86. It is gonna be x86 if you're using Windows, and here's the amount of bits you have. So if it's 6432. So the command that they show is gonna try to figure out what is your operational system, but they recommend you to change. And I just love the thing that I changed here. The only thing was this one, that by default was 14, the version that it found, and I had to put 20 here because I'm using one of the projects requires a more advanced version of the compiler, which is Visual Studio, I think, this one. But I don't know where exactly does it put the files that it downloads from the command. And this is the thing that takes the most time to understand under the hood what is happening. I've watched a couple of videos, but I don't know very well how it works. So I was watching this playlist here. I have to watch all of these videos. This is the company. The Conan is open source, but I think it was created by this. Not sure if it's a company or whatever this is. And they have a playlist here. So from so far the videos I've watched, it seems that it creates a server, and then it's kind of like running commands and then making requests with curl under the hood to download the packages online from that server that they talk about here. Then they probably put the files somewhere and set up there's probably scripts to set up the CMake files as well, because you can imagine that each project is going to have its own CMake files, and then those projects might have their dependencies, and you can break down anything like at any moment in the way, any of the dependencies. That's why it's so complicated. So I'm gonna see if I can find. This is the command to create a profile. Let's see if I can find. There's a part here that talks about how to create a Python file. I want to convert the text file from to Python, to the Python version, because it's probably better. And then they recommend you to use this. I'm not 100% sure if this command works, to be honest, because the thing gives a warning that is just ignoring the path that you put there. So I'm not sure if this is outdated or... Because it was working, the compilation was working. So I know the command was working, but I'm not really sure if this flag variable here is necessary. So first, convert the text file to Python. And once I do that, I can go back and study. I'm probably gonna run the command with only the em GUI external library for now, and then see if I can create a screen or a GUI. I should go from here. I'm gonna be right back. Oh, that's... It's one of these, I think. Maybe it was a video that I watched, I don't remember. I'll be right back. Oh, this is the one. So I don't know very well what are the differences fundamentally from one to the other. It's obviously this class is gonna contain probably the logic that is gonna do whatever the text file does when you run the command. And the generators. There are other parts that are probably here I have to put. So here are the dependencies. So but you need to call cmake install or something like that. Probably the shaders, I'm just gonna copy. It's gonna be different as well. I'm gonna have to. It's gonna be annoying, I think. But probably there are gonna be a bunch of libraries or code somewhere to do this. But I'm just gonna copy the ones here. So let me see. I'm gonna finish the. I wanna see because I remember that somewhere here they talk about use calling cmake install or something like that. I'm not really sure if that's necessary. I wanna see that first. This layout I don't remember very well. So this is another question that I have. It's kind of hard to know what to do. But what kind of compiler should I use? So I have the Visual Studio one, which I think is this one. Then you can use, I believe you can use GCC for C++ and C. And then have Clang and G. I'm not really sure if G++, like where does it come from? Which one, if Clang is the same as G++ or whatever. But I don't know. I'm tempted to put GCC here and see what happens. But I'm not really sure if this is the best or not. Because probably the trade-offs are based on architecture. And I'm also thinking about booting or doing dual boots on this computer. So the SSDs are separated, so I'm thinking about putting Ubuntu here. Because this was supposed to be, I was gonna run a node on Ethereum. But I have different ideas now of different stuff that I wanna do. So, but I'm not really sure if it's gonna be a bunch of work. But it would be nice to make the code work both for Ubuntu and for Windows. This is another question that I have. If these libraries are going to be cross-platform. Because I believe what the libraries are going to do is just call the operational system to load or run Windows and other things like that. The libraries are going to do that. So, not sure. Let me read this stuff first, then I'll go back. It's probably better to use GCC and then run the cmake command with the Unix make files. Because I know that runs on Windows and then obviously it's gonna run on Linux as well. So it's probably just better to do that like that. Not really sure. Maybe you should ask ChatGPT. GCC is probably more for Linux. And Visual Studio is more for Windows. Cross-platform. Hmm. Uh, I'm gonna try to do GCC here, but it's gonna be annoying if it doesn't work. Because who knows how much time I'm gonna spend. But my gut feeling tells me to do with GCC. Not really sure why, but and then I'm probably gonna have. Maybe I should just. I have to figure out how to create two different. I'm gonna create manually two different profiles, but then I have to think about how to, or search there how to do the command to run with a different profile. And the thing is, I'm gonna open on here. It doesn't have any extension, so I'll search what is Ubuntu's architecture. Which one should I put there? There's probably on the documentation. So let me just run with the one that I have there now. Then I'll search this on offstream. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, but maybe it's bad because then it becomes annoying if I wanna switch later. So maybe I should figure this out first. Maybe the best thing is to just study the project there first. But the problem is that I wanna uh, run and see what happens. It's probably gonna be better if I try to build as I study the other one, to see if the things are work or not, before I just put a bunch of code. So what should I do? I'm gonna search let's ask ChatGPT. Let's the same architecture. Maybe it's better to. Not really sure if this is gonna. Like, how does it work if I wanna build for Windows and Linux? Because maybe if I put this one, then it makes the build version only work on Linux. Not pretty sure that's how it works. I'm gonna see if I can find the command. I have on the history probably on this one. Alright, this is the command. Also, it's probably gonna be this other one. So it's maybe this one, but the problem is if I don't know how to ask in the best way, like how to put the path on the extension so that it finds the libraries. Maybe if I just ask like that, it's gonna work because I don't know how old the extensions are, but they're probably older than in 1 year. I'm still debating on my mind what should I do with the profile thing, because it's gonna be kind of annoying to figure out. Because it's on the documentation, I believe it is easier if you just run the default profile. So the question is how, but maybe if I ask ChatGPT, it's gonna be easier. The question is how to run the install using another profile. I should probably try to do that. So try to run with the profile that I just created for Linux. And this is the place. But I don't understand this very well. And what I'm supposed to do with this? Or maybe I should put this on the Python file. That's what I should do. See make to chain. Yeah, let me see the path first. I'm just gonna put this at it. Maybe I try to put with the star, which include everything on the Conan cache. I'm just gonna try to do this. I cannot find file. It's not that big of a deal because it doesn't change anything, but it's kind of annoying because then you don't really know like, if something is wrong or not. So if I disable the warnings, maybe the compiler is gonna. Obviously, the compiler is gonna throw warnings if it doesn't run. But then I have to run it each time, to compile each time to see. It's not sure. I'm not sure if it's worth trying to figure this out. Maybe a better question is. But I already asked this question of where Conan. And the problem is that it's gonna depend on the computer. Because the thing is, if it installs the libraries locally for each project, then the first command should work to find the header. So I assume that's not what's happening, but if I look at this batch scripts here, it's just calling other batch scripts. It doesn't have the files on the build folder though. Oh, it has on the no, but it's just the ones that fetched from GitHub. It doesn't have the external libraries on the build folder. So I'm not really sure. Maybe if I clean the history and ask again, or I should spend some time trying to manually, or I can put the path that's use the wire command, wire Conan, and then just go to that path. Also, it's on Python, the executable. So maybe it installs together with Python projects in the global environments. So they're probably using pip under the hood to download everything and to run everything. Then how does that work? It's gonna be very complicated. That's the thing. This is Python. Oh, maybe it's this one. So I'm gonna try this one. So I just typed where, then the name of the executable, then went to this path. Oh, but this is gonna be, yeah, these are Python libraries. But maybe it's somewhere here. No. It's not this one. So I'm gonna try to. This I'm probably gonna have to watch all of the videos there and then spend a bunch of time trying to understand this. Not gonna be able to. So I'm gonna focus on trying to run the command with the specific profile. Let's try running this. And the problem is I'm not really sure if the path breaks when I put the C there. I'm gonna try. Interesting. So it does work, but the specifications are wrong. Runtime. Hmm. So I think I had this problem as well before. Obviously, I can just delete the lines here I think the stream is uh, cutting because of the music. Probably there's copyright. Uh, so the easy thing would be just to delete this part here. So it's complaining because the CMake that I'm using, yeah, I download CMake manually and then I put it on path. And I also downloaded with Chocolatey, which is a package manager. But Conan probably can't find it. So either I delete there or I try to figure out how to specify so Conan finds the CMake that I have. So maybe if I go and build requirements. So just gonna use ChatGPT again. This is the biggest problem with documentation. Just a lot of the times they don't talk about the like how it works under the hood. So let me think. I guess I can just go over the try to see if I can go over the source code to understand. But I'm not really sure if it's gonna take a lot of time and if it's worth to do this. Probably gonna have to run on VS Codes. This here is not finding. I'm not really sure how it works under the hood. It's probably it's gonna call the global Python interpreter that I have installed. And then it's gonna find this package on the global one because I ran the pip command to install. So installed in whatever environment you run the pip command from. Which in my case was the global one. So this class is probably there. So I can go manually there, I think. Just use the wire command again. Find the Python executable and then try to find the file. I'm not really sure if that's worth it. So what I want to understand is how does it resolve the dependency? Because obviously I have CMake. The easiest thing is just maybe I'm gonna remove and then see if it works. But I do wanna understand because like there are probably cases where you wanna like the thing is you have to some cases you probably have to specify the CMake version here because it's gonna be important here for the external libraries. So Hmm. So maybe if I remove this one worked. The name worked on the other one. If I remove all this stuff. Hmm. So I'm gonna have to find. It was somewhere here that I found, but because I copied the exact name last time from the library. I got the name from the other project, then I copied on. I searched on the website, then I got the actual name they have there on the text file was working. And the thing is, it's kind of boring to do this on stream, so it's probably better to just study the project now, then I'll figure this out later. I think that's what I'm gonna do, because otherwise I'm probably gonna have to read this documentation a couple of times, go back and forth, then find the websites that they provide the packages, or it's gonna be on Conan, but find the path there, then figure out the correct name, then do everything. So I'm gonna spend time studying the project now, then I'll go back to trying to make it work there. I'll be right back. I'm gonna study this now. So yeah, I wanted to do these things so I can run the thing there, but the problem is that I can change this to the text file again, and it's probably gonna work because it worked on the other project. But then my concern is that later on it's gonna be kind of annoying to like change everything, and I want to do with the other profile and using Python here, the Python file instead of the text. And yeah, I have to figure this out so I can have so I can download the external library, and then only after that I can put the code to create the GUI. So I'm just gonna study these codes, then maybe still today I'll try to. The problem is that it's gonna take time, regardless. Like, this is the issue. Maybe I spend some time still trying to find like, yeah, find the sites or find the path to where they specify the libraries available on Conan, and then yeah, probably that's the last thing that I should try. Yeah, it's this one. Okay, so I just put the name there to see, test different names and see if it's gonna find. So it's just on the Conan center here, and I copied this from on the other one. So maybe if I remove the like up to here, So probably should try this. Then if it doesn't work, then I just study the other one. And the other thing I can try is put this stuff on the on ChatGPT.
Increase the volume.
So let me try the other variations of the thing. If it doesn't work, then I'm just gonna... Either way, if it does work or not, I'm just gonna study the project. But I do want to run the minimalist version that I can, just to see if I can run something that opens the GUI. Setting compilers leave notify. Maybe it's because of this. Not sure if I removed. Oh, it might be that. That's might be the problem. I think that's the problem. Is the thing that I was talking about. Because it's probably a Windows library. So probably this is the issue. So let me try to run. I'm gonna try to run with these commands without the profile and see if it works. Yeah, this is the issue. So it is what I was thinking about before. So this is a Windows library, and what's gonna do is just call the operating system to open the GUI. So what I'm gonna do is ask ChatGPT what is the best library to... Because this is the thing that I don't know. Uh, if I want to build both for Linux and Windows, because I don't know which one I'm gonna use, then... And also because other people, if I put that, uh, like for other people to use, then obviously I want to allow different operating systems. So obviously, I'm gonna ask ChatGPT. But it is kind of annoying because the other one is using this library. So I'm just gonna study this project now. I'll think about this off stream. So be right back, and then I'm gonna study the project. I still have kind of a hard time understanding this one. So the main difference between this one and the normal cones is, I believe, for now, that this figures out whether or not if it's cones on runtime, but I don't understand very well when you're supposed to do over the other. There's another one that is the volatile keywords, which is kind of hard to understand as well. But I don't remember very well like what it's supposed to do. I think it's for specifying to the compiler that the variable might change. So like you shouldn't rely on the variable. You shouldn't do optimizations on the compiler based on the place of the variable. So that's probably. But to figure out when you should use it is kind of the hard thing. So this one is used to convert the value, if I remember correctly. So whatever you pass here is gonna convert this to that value. So if this is an integer, it converts the expression to an integer. And the auto is just a placeholder for it's kind of like the same, pretty much the same as the dynamic typing, where it's just gonna assume any value that the thing has. But I'm not really sure if there are nuances. I don't remember very well. So it's probably not exactly the same as dynamic typing. And this calling function from this library forward is dirty. So it's probably just flags the thing based on the new value. So where is this used? So it's just indicating whether or not the new value is the same as the previous one. This is probably, I'm not really sure if it's a matrix or not. No, it is gonna be this class. It is a matrix. This is the math library, which is the external dependency. Creates a matrix of 4 by 4, which is gonna be the projection view. So I have the model, the projection, and the view. It's MVP. Model view projection matrix that determines the scene, I think. So initializes as the identity matrix. It's just ones on the diagonal and 0 everywhere else. It's still very hard for me to, like, the types are very confusing to me. The declaration are not used to this way of typing. But yeah, so initialize the class with the type of this thing here, which is going to be a matrix from GL. And this is the other class here. This is just initializing. This is gonna be the name, I think, of the thing. And so it's passing this stuff to the constructor, I think. And this is the constructor is just a function with the same name as the class. So it's gonna be this one, and this one probably overloads this one. Yeah, that's what's happening probably. So overloading just means that you're gonna have a function with the same name but different, in this case, different arguments, and in other cases, different types as well. But it's kind of confusing. It's gonna take a lot of time and practice to really like become good at everything. So I assume this is probably the all of them are constructors, but this is the like official one. Oh, this is just overloading the equal operator, the assignment operator. So overloading the operator means that the operator is gonna have a different functionality than the normal one from the compiler. When you when you create a class like this and you make it equal to something, make something equal to the class, it's gonna run this function instead of just doing what C++ normally does with the equal sign. And friend classes is still very confusing to me as well. It pretty much gives that access to other class to this function. I have namespace. Oh, this is gonna be a struct, not a function. You're just giving access to the struct to other classes. Probably the app one. So projection view uniform is passing the identity matrix. So I don't. It's probably this value here. And this. No, this. Yeah. No, actually this one, because it's just initializing, not making it equal to anything. So the matrix here is gonna be the value there. This value here. Then the other one is default arguments. It's gonna be dirty by defaults. I know that the dirty is used to determine which thing should be updated, but there's a lot of nuances, and I don't understand all the nuances. So, but on Pixie.js and Tree.js is the same thing. They use dirty a lot to specify which thing should be updated. Or maybe now I'm gonna leave it like this, whatever. Dirty property. I'm gonna search this function to see what it does. Forwards. It's not a function, probably. It's this thing. Just this. Just this. I don't understand why I do this here. Like why not? I guess it just should make it easier to write. But yeah. So I don't understand this very well. Because if this is a boolean and the other one is not anything, just this random type, then what does it mean to assume? But it wouldn't make sense to be like initializing a struct, or it doesn't make a lot of sense. So this checks to see if you have this. If you can convert probably this thing into this thing. Right, this. I need to study more templates. Still very confusing to me. So I'm gonna ask ChatGPT what this function does. Because I think that the value here. This is another thing that a lot of the books talk about, but I didn't pay too much attention. Because there was too much stuff to read. So obviously I went very fast. But I don't understand very well why use the two references here to initialize. Like a lot of the stuff on classes is very confusing because it involves a bunch of pointers and types and that kind of stuff. I'm just gonna ask ChatGPT. Also, I guess this should work. So maybe the version that Conan has is only for Windows, but this one should work for both. Obviously what I can do is just get the code. That's the other alternative. That's probably what I'm gonna do. To just copy the code from this library or download the code here. Interesting. So obviously there is a difference. L value is the value on the left, and then R value is the value on the right. Then obviously there is a difference between them. It's probably the main differences are probably when it comes to pointers, but I'm not really sure because the functionality of the pointer is going to depend on whether or not the value is on the left or the right. and the precedence of the operators as well. So depending on which one is gonna be, it calls either one of the functions. Hmm. So it figures out. I assume that this is what's happening. It's like it's figuring out based on the type at runtime which function to call, depending on what kind of value it is. So it's used to, depending on which kind of value this is, it's gonna call a different function. No, what is the? Well, how does that work? I don't understand very well. Because on the example there is calling this and passing the. So maybe it's just to figure out which kind of value it is, but it doesn't call any function. And so yeah, so obviously it has to be this thing here. So I believe that this is a lambda. Maybe not, because I think that lambdas start with the these square brackets, but I don't remember. I think that for lambdas you would have to call here to do this. Yeah, so it is a member function. Like, the thing is that I don't think that it would make sense to be like these two different ones here. It doesn't make sense. And they are, yeah, the only difference is the type of const they are returning. But I don't think that this is calling the like either one of this. Or maybe it is. Again, overloading the operators. The bulk of the thing is gonna be on the other library. So camera, view, matrix, projection matrix. So I guess this is probably used to specify when something needs to change to the shaders, uniforms. So I don't remember very well how it works. I do remember that the uniforms are going to be related to the, I think, fragment shaders. I remember on the 3GS class there was values like this to change the properties of the triangle. I'm pretty sure it's on the fragment shader. Based on the uniform, it decides the color or something like that. I don't remember very well though. So obviously this is gonna be the camera. It's probably a matrix. View projection. Also there's another class and then has vectors and matrices. And same thing, the other one. So this is the distance of the, maybe if I show, this is kind of hard to talk, I don't know, I don't remember the name of the thing, but there is, I remember there is some visualization here that shows the stuff. Maybe it's the view perspective. Yeah, this thing here. So it creates this stuff that I don't know the name of. And then one of them is the near view, this one. The other one's the far. So the near, far position. Field of view. So these are declared here. So from the stuff that I have on the front end, the orthographic. Yeah, but the thing is, I don't know very well. So I was gonna say that orthographic is. Oh, so, no, no. I think I remember. Yeah, the orthographic is kind of like a box, so it's more like a cube, and the perspective is this one here. And that's the main difference between them. So yeah, orthographic is when you like have a cube, and the perspective is this one. I don't understand. I'm gonna have to. I wanna watch all the videos as well. I wanna finish reading all the books just because I started and there's only three left. But I'm gonna probably spend a bunch of time watching the videos as well and then using ChatGPT more because it is kind of confusing here. I don't really understand this very well, like what is happening here. I assume that what's happening is that you have two different functions that are gonna overload the constructor. This one is for overloading the operator. This one is like two different versions of constructor, but it calls either one depending on what you pass, I think. So if you pass a value, it probably calls this one, and if you don't pass anything, it calls this one, I assume. So I assume that this is passing, it's calling this one from the other one. Yeah, here. So on these ones, it probably calls the first one. It calls this function here. And then on these ones, it calls this. And both of them is calling this require here. So this one, probably this checks to see if one type is convertible to the other. But the thing that is kind of confusing to me is because probably both of these are the templates that he uses here.
Tell me your secrets.
I don't know where is the other one.
Dance with me. Let's go.
Oh, it's here.
Stop.
So,
Just breathe.
yeah, but I guess, yeah, because this is gonna be. But if the data is not initialized, then how does it know?
Dance with me. Let's go.
That's the thing.
Dance with me. Talk to me.
I guess. So probably this is gonna be false in the beginning.
Stop. Bring the beat.
Yeah, because this is not the main class. So. Yeah, but I don't understand very well, to be honest. Maybe this is because of the assignment operator. So there might be situations where you assign
Let's go.
one value to the other, then it's gonna run this function, and then it runs the constructor after it runs this, because it's assigning. Or, but it shouldn't do that because this is returning a pointer to the same instance. So probably when you assign, it's just gonna create a pointer to the. But I do remember that, and this is the part that is kind of confusing
Talk to me.
because I'm not 100% sure.
Stop.
But I think that in some situations, from vaguely what I remember from some of the books, when you assign a class to another variable, it creates a copy of the class. So it's like it's not pointing to the same place. It's creating a new place in memory and copying everything that the other class had. But I do remember that there are some nuance to this.
Tell me your secrets.
So
Dance with me.
I have to
Let's go.
see that again. Here I think it's gonna point to the same instance of this one, so
Just breathe.
I don't understand if this is. So I'm gonna ask GPT
Dance with me.
if it's converting trying to see if the one of the templates is convertible to the other one, to see if the
Talk to me.
types are the same. If they are, it calls this one with the value, and if it isn't,
Stop. Look into my eyes.
I'm not really sure if it calls this one. If it isn't,
Dance with me.
so let me.
Dance with me. Let's go. Stop. Just breathe. Dance with me. Let's go. Dance with me. Dance with me.
Maybe it's because it's gonna be. I don't understand. I was gonna say that it's gonna be a class, so it checks to see if it is a class. It checks to see if this, but it doesn't make sense. Because where does it change the data? If this is the first time that it's constructing the class, like this is gonna be, it's gonna have this type, which is just generic. So the problem is this one. Because it has, like, as far as I understand now, this is gonna be generic. So it's initializing the data without any, like, it's just a generic type. So doesn't make sense. Because then, like, what's the point of figuring out or checking to see if this is constructible, if it's generic? It would make sense if this like could be a value that is not, like, maybe you change the data to be a class, let's say, for example, and then it checks to see if the data is a class or not. So for example, if it is a matrix or not, then I think it would make sense, because then if it is, then you call the constructor of the class, and if it isn't, you just say that it's dirty. But I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. Just based on the names, obviously. You check to see if the one type is convertible to the other, but it's kind of confusing. That's yeah, I probably should. So the biggest things that are confusing are types and classes on C++. When it comes to the pointers and the assignment operator, how does it copy everything and what happens in memory? One class to the other, and obviously all the inheritance and the specifiers like the friends and public and private, all that stuff. So that's what I have to spend a lot of time to understand. Oh, so okay. So it doesn't require any more arguments. And the problem is, how can I? Because if I ask, ChatGPT is not gonna know without the context of the whole application. So I wanna understand, like, how is it possible? Maybe. So one thing could be like, at what points is this constructor gonna run? In what situations? Maybe I can ask that. Because the main thing that I want to understand is this thing about the type here. Like, what is the point of that, of running this test if this is always gonna be a generic type? So I understand what it's saying, but I wanna clarify the details. It's basically saying when you initialize the class without passing any arguments, it's gonna call this one. Then it checks to see if it is constructible. If it is, it's called this one. If it isn't, it says that it's dirty. And if you pass with the defaults or with arguments, then this is gonna be the argument, and then it's just gonna call this stuff here to use probably. Yeah, this is the part that is kind of confusing because they have different names, so I'm not really sure if it's. But I believe that's probably gonna select one of these to be the value here that is gonna initialize the thing, the data with. And data is probably another class, but I don't understand like what I don't understand is how is it possible? Because in my mind, when you initialize the class, you initialize the value of data here. Just it shouldn't have any value in the beginning because of the way that it is here. So that's what doesn't make. But maybe, yeah, because that's what it's doing. So maybe that's the point. Yeah. I think I understand now. It's just I'm getting confused, but actually I don't because the main thing is this thing here. So it makes sense if here it doesn't make sense, but here it does. Because at this point it's gonna like convert the type from the generic type that is here to whatever type the class is. So if it is a class, it's gonna when it calls. But what it doesn't make sense is like how does it? But maybe it is inside of the. But it wouldn't make sense either because it should always have a unless like. But I think it wouldn't make like it doesn't make sense for me to for the compiler to check the value of data first and then call this function. That wouldn't make any sense. So I don't understand how it's possible that like, this knows the type of the data before it calls the function. Doesn't make sense. And then here it's gonna check if it converts this type to the type that is passed as the value. And if you can, then it calls this stuff here. It's probably, I think it only calls this one when it uses this. And it's probably something to do with the type or the types are pointers, I think. Because this one is going to be the T type and this one is U. So that would make sense to me. So it only calls this one. So if it is convertible, then it calls the constructor of this of data with this value here, which is going to be with the other type. So it's just converting the types. Using this to convert the types. I think that's what's going on here. So how can I ask to clarify this thing about the template here? I'm gonna ask this one first, then I'm gonna try to ask like how does it resolve this thing here? Maybe it's just ChatGPT hallucinating. But this is the thing that is kind of confusing. Let's type like why. So I need to find a better way to ask the question because it's still kind of confusing. But based on these responses, like it makes me think that it has something to do with the declaration here. So because you declare with this thing here, then t is gonna be this type. But I don't understand like how does it happen like under the hood. So I'm trying to clarify. Uh, how can I ask the like what exactly is the? I think the point of confusion is the privates, how the private variables are initialized on the class. 'Cause in my mind, the way that I always think about it is that first is gonna call the constructor before it does anything. Or maybe that is incorrect. It calls this stuff first. And because these are private, so but private doesn't mean that the other it just means that the other classes are not gonna have access or the external code. But it doesn't necessarily mean that when you're initializing, when you initialize, you like obviously you need to have access. So maybe I'm just confusing the order here. Like when it initializes the private stuff first. Then t is gonna be whatever type you pass here. And if that's the case, then it's gonna determine whether or not it's because it's just like replacing this stuff like here. So this is gonna be like this. I think that's what ChatGPT is saying, but I'm not very confident on the under the hood, like what is happening. But if that's it would make sense that this is what's happening because then obviously you can pass. and then initialize whatever it is here. And the thing that is confusing is because like, it could be that's the case that because you have two different functions, then you like it's gonna, but that doesn't make sense. Like because if you don't pass anything, then it's just gonna call here. So and this is not the T type, is the U. So it wouldn't make sense to check. And so the only thing that makes sense is that this is the variable. Yeah, so it is what I was thinking about. So I guess like if you don't, yeah, yeah, if you don't specify, then but it's still kind of confusing. Because obviously, like here it has two variables, so how does it know? The answer would be like one of them is a template, so it just takes the type of the template. But like, what happens if you have more variables here? So if I have like data true, but I guess, and maybe when you have more than one template, then it gets confusing. 'Cause in this case, obviously, all of them would have the same type. So I'm trying to understand. I believe this is gonna be false, probably. If you like, if you have more than one variable and you don't pass the type here, what happens? And if you have two generic types, for example.
Isolation is the gift. All the others are a test of your endurance. Of how
So it's
much
gonna
you
pass these values.
and you'll do it. Despite rejection and the worst odds.
Yeah, so it is what I was thinking about. You're just gonna go sequentially based on the order that you specify them. Because because the other one is not generic, you don't need to pass. So I think it's more clear now what happens. So I think I'm gonna stop here. Then I'm gonna finish the books off stream. Probably not gonna streams for some time. And then yeah, but I'm gonna continue to do this. So I have to solve the Conan stuff first. I'm probably gonna I'm just gonna do it like this first. Then maybe in the future I think about doing the other way for or finding a different library for Linux. Like I need to start building stuff more to get practice and learn more. So I'm probably gonna just start with this setup that I have, and then like just gonna use this library here. I'm gonna try to build something very simple from scratch. I'm gonna have to study more. I want to finish the books first. Then I'm gonna clarify this more and try to build something very simple from the beginning. And I'm probably not gonna. I'm not gonna do it the way that he did it. He did it here. Just wanna get the study and understand how he thought about it, and then convert. So the first part of this is creating something that has a GUI and that allows me to build the visualization the same way I was doing on the front end. So I create the graph network, nodes and edges, and arrows. So I'm gonna have to figure out the shaders. Remember the shaders again. Understand how using the libraries to do the math, change the visualization. The main things that I want to clarify now is the GUI and the OpenGL, like how he structures the visualization. And once I have that from this project, then I can start thinking about the other part, which is to go back to the Python project and try to implement the parser generator that they use on the Python grammar, and then create a graph visualization from that. So that's, but I want to read out the books first. So I'm probably not going to work on this until I finish the books first. Then after I finish the books, I probably going to stream again and then continue to do this. And I'm going to do it from this. I don't think I'm going to do. I'm just going to stay with this stuff here. Is probably just going to copy some code and then try to see if I can do it. I open a window or something like that. But I'm not going to do it for Linux. I think I'm just gonna do it this way. But I think yeah, maybe next time I stream I just go back and continue to study this stuff here, because I want to finish all the books first, and it's gonna take a lot of time because some of them are long. I think I'm gonna finish maybe I'm just gonna finish the OpenGL one first, then I'll stream again, and then I study this stuff as I read the other books. So yeah, this is what I'm gonna do. So not really sure when I'm gonna come back. Probably tomorrow or 2 days from now. Once I finish the OpenGL book, there's still 4 hours. So maybe today I'll read a little bit and then tomorrow I'll finish. So maybe stream tomorrow or 2 days from now and continue to study this project here. So see you then.